We recently had a discussion with General Saltzman about refueling, and he wanted $20 million, I think, in the 2025 budget. How far are we behind China in refueling? This $20 million was only for a study. Can you explain that? I mean, $20 million for a study, other than $20 million more for learning how to refuel and why we need to refuel and how far behind we are. Anybody want to answer?
Yes, Senator, that's a good question, and I do recall you asking the CSO about that question. Right now, we are doing the exploration of refueling in space to understand what does it actually contribute to the fight. Because there is a balance between building refueling capability into a satellite, which is semi-expensive, and buying proliferated lower-cost constellations. So we're going to need a combination of both. We're not sure what orbits are going to be which. We're not sure how we're going to do refueling as a service yet. So the $20 million is to actually study those effects.
Anybody else want to?
And some of that fund actually goes to some demonstrations as well. We're not on space, but on the ground side, actually looking at what it takes to go build the refueling unit and some demonstrations that we're doing on the ground side in terms of just the concept of, well, it's the two space vehicles docking and being able to actually put a refueling module in and how that refueling works. So some of that money is going to study work to see where the bigger picture is. And some of that money is also going to actually design work and demonstration work.
Going back to commercial capabilities, are we leveraging those the right way, General?
Yes, Senator, we are. Secretary Hill just talked about publishing of the DoD's commercial space strategy. On the heels of that, we published the Space Force Commercial Space Strategy, which is all about how do I take advantage of space to start filling in resiliency, capacity, and redundancy into our capabilities. What we do know today is I cannot build all the kit that I'm going to need. We're going to have to rely on partnerships with allies, and partnerships with our industrial partners. If you go back to the history of the United States, we've always relied on our industrial base during times of crisis or conflict, and this is going to be no different. So we are currently designing in how to take maximum advantage of those capabilities and innovation that's coming out of commercial to build out what we call hybrid architectures, which are a combination of DoD, civil, allied, and commercial platforms all together to get us to that capacity and that resiliency that we need in the future.
There's not a week goes by that I don't have somebody coming from Huntsville that's building new satellites. I mean, it seems like it's a growing trend, and whether it's building or refueling or using nuclear energy in satellites or offensive or defensive satellites. Do y'all see the same thing? I mean, are y'all overwhelmed with people that are getting in the satellite business, Secretary?
It's amazing. I mean, we're very fortunate, knock on wood, and I hope it keeps us right, that the space economy is starting to boom, and we're seeing amazing entrepreneurship from across the United States, and companies come in. A week doesn't go by that a new company doesn't come in and tell me about some great concept that they're pursuing and doing. And what's really wonderful is that they're also getting great investment dollars as well to be able to start themselves off. So we're excited about the new space economy that's booming.
Seems like they got a lot of money they want to invest, which is fine with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It helps us all. General, what about retention, recruiting and retention in the Space Force? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you, Senator. We have the highest recruiting and retention in the United States Space Force today. We have continuously exceeded our recruiting goals by several hundred. We have more people beating on our door to come into the Space Force than we can possibly take efficiently today. So that's a great problem. From the retention side of the equation, we're also doing great. We're in the high 90s on both enlisted and on civilians, and we're able to retain that technical talent that we need for a complicated domain.
Seems like that would be one of your most important things, is retention, experience. A lot of money out there in the private sector, as we just talked about, building satellites. So you don't see any problem in retention? We haven't had that problem?
No, sir, we have not had that retention today in the United States Space Force. We are constantly watching for it. We are constantly trying to make sure that we're giving our Guardians an experience and that we're giving them the tools that they need to be successful. But like I said, right now we're in the high 90s for both our enlisted and our officers for retention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.